Alternative healing practices. Having an interest in exploring alternative practices for treatment of clinical problems, I have read about and had several discussions with alternative medicine practitioners. The major issue in integrating alternative practices in the mainstream psychiatric treatment options is the lack of harmony in underlying pathology and treatment principles. I personally believe it is more because of the competitive approach which tries to focus on the limitations rather than the point of integration. I will touch upon a few of these practices here because my clients' curiosity has often led myself to explore these options. Ayurveda and yoga. It's probably one medical approach that puts greatest emphasis in mind-body connection, and hence all treatments in Ayurveda start by understanding the prakriti of individual from a deep psychological perspective. The holistic principles are scientific and very easily integrated. In my experience with the modern day stressors, which are not just psychological but also physical and environmental, finding the right balance when suffering from acute phase of depression hasn't happened, therefore, including principles of Ayurveda and yoga in routine life has greater preventive impact on development of depression and augmenting effect in the treatment of psychiatric illnesses. We will discuss more on that in future episodes along with inputs from experts in the field. Music therapy. Sounds we hear impact us instantly, from the soothing lullaby of the mother that has the potential to put a baby to sleep to the chirping of birds. We are all attracted to soothing and harmonious sounds. These are music to our ears and have a definitive effect on our mood and emotions. Can music cure depression? We are still exploring. At Manasthali, we have a qualified music therapist and classical vocalist helping patients in integrative approach I often talk about. There are other modalities in sound therapy, including sound bath and Tibetan bowls, and are useful aid in calming the mind. But as a standalone treatment option for depressive disorders, I still have to come across pertinent research. No harm in adding to our routine practice though. Energy healing practices. The ancient lore of our land expounds energy as the subtle aspect of all material beings, and the quantum physics agrees. Balancing these energies through various energy healing techniques like chakras, access bars, Reiki, they are also being explored options. Once again, these treatment modalities are very experimental and healer's skill is of paramount significance. These approaches have been used additionally in treatment of depression with varying results. But again, as a standalone treatment, it may work more in the initial phase of a disorder than when a clinical condition has settled in. There are other treatment options in literature like hypnotherapy, which has been explored by earlier psychiatrists in France and Europe, and chiropractic methods, but there is no consistency of response and individual factors play a greater role. Therefore, modern psychiatric practices do not acknowledge them as first-line treatment option. Now, what about treatment duration, relapse, and recurrence? Now, the foremost concern of most patients is how long they will have to take medicine. Will they get addicted to drugs? Would they ever get completely cured? Even though the concerns are genuine, there is a definitive tunnel vision here. We focus on the drawbacks of treatment, but forget what brings us forward for treatment in the first place. The clinical depression is a condition which causes disability like no other physical illness, partly because it is ignored till it becomes intolerable, and additionally because the impact on person's personal life, social life, and occupational productivity are not directly connected to the disease but are seen more like a deliberate attempt to harm oneself. Treatment duration thus depends upon the stage of the illness, the intensity of symptoms in terms of disability and negative ideation, the underlying personality which makes one vulnerable to stress and depression, the socio-cultural scenario one is living in, and genetic and familiar factors. If treatment is discontinued midway, the chances that depressive symptoms will reappear are very high. We call it relapse, while patients think it's addiction to medicine or withdrawal. Fact is that if one who has a broken leg loses the support stick while still in recovery, one will fall. In depressive disorders, one can't see a physical broken element, therefore one thinks he no longer needs the stick or the medicine and eventually starts blaming the medicine for the fall. Recurrence. Depressive disorders, especially the endogenous ones, occur due to an underlying neurochemical vulnerability, and therefore even after effective and long treatment, symptoms may reappear once medicines are stopped. This is called recurrence, and patients who have multiple episodes are diagnosed as case of recurrent depressive disorder. This is not because medicines are ineffective. It simply means that the underlying condition is not curable with the available treatment modalities. Resistance. Some people don't get better despite medicine, combination of medicines and psychotherapy, and even with other modalities. In such cases, the clinical condition is said to be resistant to treatment, and supportive and rehabilitative approaches are employed for better functional outcomes. To summarize the treatment approaches, the diagnosis of depression does not make one depressed. Secondly, treatment may be ineffective or may have side effects, but it does not alter brain chemistry permanently. On the contrary, the evidence suggests that treatment may protect against deterioration in brain structure and physiology in long run. Thirdly, treatment of depression is like treatment of any other chronic physical illness like diabetes. It has to be monitored and optimized regularly. Next, additional lifestyle changes are important in overall treatment response and prevention of further approach. And lastly, medicines are prescribed by qualified psychiatrists who have gone through education and training in medical schools. Trusting a doctor is a smarter approach than following unqualified advice from non-experts. In this series on mental disorders, we would often repeat some of these treatment principles because they are same for all mental diseases. The idea is to clarify the doubts that my clients have asked over the last 2 decades. If you have any other questions, please let us know in the comment box below. For more information, stay tuned to Manasthili, where mind meets matter, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Have a good day.